Hi, so today we'll be discussing about the essay The Love of the Medusa by Ellen Sixu. So this essay, The Love of the Medusa by Ellen Sixu is a seminal feminist essay that was first published in 1975. This essay is often associated with the second wave of feminism, but its ideas continue to resonate with subsequent waves of feminism as well. The second wave of feminism emerged in the 1960s and 1970s, and it focused on issues such as reproductive rights, workplace discrimination, and gender inequality. During this time, Sixu sought to address the absence of women's voices in literature and philosophy, asserting that women needed to reclaim their writing as a means of empowerment. And she argued that women's experiences and perspectives have been marginalized and silenced in a male dominated literary tradition. So, this is what we will be discussing in this essay. Significance of Medusa's story. The story of Medusa holds significant importance in the love of the Medusa as a symbol for challenging phallocentrism. In Greek mythology, Medusa was once a beautiful woman who was transformed into a monster with snakes for hair and the power to turn men to stone with her gaze, so she became a feared and vilified creature. Eileen Sixu reclaims Medusa's narrative by presenting her as a powerful figure who loves defiantly in the face of patriarchal oppression. Here, Medusa becomes a symbolic representation of women's collective anger, resistance, and liberation. Through Medusa, Sixu challenges the dominant male gaze that seeks to objectify and oppress women, giving voice and power to the repressed aspects of female identity. The importance of Medusa's story lies in its ability to disrupt and subvert the phallocentric order. Sixu encourages women to embrace their own stories, experiences, and histories, and also calls to women to reclaim their agency, unleash their voices, and challenge the dominant male gaze that seeks to silence and oppress them. In the context of the essay The Love of the Medusa by Ellen Sixu, Medusa's love represents the subversive and liberating power of women's voices and writing. So by laughing, women reject the limitations imposed upon them and assert their right to self-expression and creativity. It is through this laughter, this joyous defiance, that women can reclaim their agency and challenge the oppressive systems that have silenced them. Lin Sixu also introduces and promotes the concept of Ecriture feminine or feminine writing. This term refers to Sixu's proposition for a new mode of writing that challenges and subverts traditional patriarchal structures and norms. According to Sixu, traditional patriarchal language and narratives have excluded women, silencing their voices and relegating them to passive objects. In response, Sixu advocates for the development of a new kind of writing that celebrates women's experiences, desires, and bodies. This Ecriture feminine, she argues, would be a means for women to reclaim their autonomy and establish their own discourse. She invites women to tap into their inner creativity and embrace their unique perspectives in order to unleash a powerful and revolutionary feminine voice. She encourages women to write and speak without fear or hesitation, defining their own linguistic and literary forms. So this new style of writing, she suggests, would not follow linear and rational structures of traditional literature, but rather embrace ambiguity, multiplicity, and fluidity, representing the complexity of women's experiences. She also emphasizes that Ecriture feminine does not seek to replace or dominate male writing, but rather to complement and challenge it. She urges women to acknowledge their bodily experiences, desires, and sensual pleasures in their writing, rejecting the notion that femininity should be hidden or denied. The Love of the Medusa also becomes an embodiment of this Ecriture feminine itself. The text itself is filled with a rhythmic and poetic language that echoes the labyrinthine, wild, and unrestrained nature of Medusa's love. Phallocentrism is a term used by Ellen Sixu in the essay The Love of the Medusa to critique the dominant patriarchal structure that prioritizes masculine values, perspectives, and norms. It is a concept that refers to the way in which social, cultural, and political systems are centered around the male experience, excluding or subordinating women and their perspectives. She also argues that phallocentrism perpetuates the silencing and marginalization of women, relegating them to passive objects and then denying them agency. So this domination of the male perspective in language, literature, and society limits women's possibilities for self-expression, self-discovery, and self-determination. In the essay, Ellen Sixu also introduces the concept of anti-love as a way to challenge traditional norms and expectations surrounding love and relationships. Anti-love is presented as a countercultural force that rejects the patriarchal and possessive aspects of traditional love. She argues that conventional norms of love are often rooted in power dynamics and dependency, wherein women are expected to play submissive roles and sacrifice their identities and desires for the sake of love. What she proposes is a radical redefining of love. Anti-love, as she envisions it, is a form of love that is devoid of possessiveness, domination, and self-sacrifice. It encourages women to prioritize their own desires, independence, and self-fulfillment. So she calls upon women to embrace their own bodies, desires, and pleasures by challenging the idea that love needs to be centered around men. She advocates for a love that is freeing, empowering, and self-directed. By promoting the concept of anti-love, Siksu encourages women to reject established narratives of love that bind and limit them. She invites them to explore their own desires and forge their own paths, free from the constraints of patriarchal expectations. And in doing so, women can reclaim their agency, assert their autonomy, and contribute to the creation of a more egalitarian society. In the essay, she also refers to the theory of psychoanalysis. She critiques the traditional psychoanalysis for its male-centered perspective and its tendency to pathologize women's experiences. Many feminists like Siksu criticize Sigmund Freud's psychosexual development theory, which revolves around the Oedipus complex, because he does not accept a woman's sexuality independent from men and considers female sexuality as dark continent. Lillian Siksu also talks about binary oppositions. So binary oppositions is a concept from structuralist theory, and binary oppositions refer to contrasting pairs of concepts or terms such as male-female, mind-body, reason-emotion, black-white, etc. These oppositions often prioritize one term over the other, with the privileged term usually associated with masculine qualities. She challenges this concept of binary oppositions by advocating for the reclaiming of female identity, embodiment, and sexuality. She rejects the notion that women should align themselves with the binary opposites defined by men. Siksu argues that women have been historically marginalized, silenced, and forced to conform to male-defined standards. And by making references to binary oppositions in the essay, she highlights the oppressive nature of these structures and urges women to reject them. So there are some key points that we can take from this essay. The first one is breaking silence. This essay encourages women to find their own voice. The second one is embracing difference. Siksu sees women's writings as a way to explore and celebrate their individuality and uniqueness. The third one is writing the body. Siksu emphasizes the connection between the women's bodies and their writing. She suggests that women should reclaim their bodies and experiences, using them as a source of inspiration and creativity. The fourth one is writing as liberation. According to Siksu, writing allows women to express their desires, fantasies, and experiences freely. The fifth one is sisterhood and solidarity. Siksu advocates for women supporting and encouraging each other. She believes that women's writings can create a sense of solidarity, helping to break down barriers and challenge oppressive systems. In the essay, Ilian Siksu points out that women have been pushed away from literature as much as from their own bodies, and that they should bring themselves into literature again by their own effort. She believes that writing is the only way for women to reach their sexual identity, and that they can only discover the repressed femininity in the subconscious by writing. However, she continues to explain that women feel guilty while writing, as when they explore their sexual pleasure because they were not allowed to write. Claiming that women have been pushed into the dark by men and forced to accept the situation, she blames men for moving women away from each other and for leading to hate themselves. The Love of the Medusa can therefore be considered a manifesto for women to believe in themselves and to start to write.